Welcome back, you beautiful souls. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is your extra dose of Feel Good with Expresso in our midday slots. We're in the midst of Mental Health Awareness Month, a vitally important time for awareness around this topic, which is observed here in South Africa every October. And a group that has been at, I think, the forefront of mental health advocacy and services, certainly here in Cape Town, is Cape Mental Health, an organization that we now know well. And today we are joined by a few representatives who will share what you can expect from the flagship Cape Town International Kite Festival event, which is going virtual for 2020. We've heard that before. And I'd like to welcome two friends of the show. Thank you so much to the CEO of Cape Mental Health, Dr. Ingrid Daniels, and spokesperson Dylan October. Guys, great to have you here, not virtually, which is great for us.
Yes.
We've had to rethink our world and how we do TV through this time, loving the fact that we've gone to level 1, but it's still very difficult in your position to be able to manage these times. Doctor, I'm going to start with you. What challenges have you faced in 2020? Because this surely must have been a very challenging year for you guys.
Yes, indeed, it has been a very challenging year. As you all know, in March, COVID-19 presented itself to South Africa, and we know that COVID-19 pandemic has had significant implications for mental health. And so for us, even though it's been challenging, we were able to preempt the lockdown period. We looked at what was happening internationally because Europe had started a lot earlier in terms of the infection rates. We saw the spike in infections in Italy, and so we were able to preempt and predict as well that this was going to be a longer lockdown period. So we had literally about a week in which to design a remote mental health service. And it's been phenomenally successful that we've been able to reach many, thousands of people in the Western Cape providing mental health services. Our biggest challenge that we found going into remote mental health or virtual intervention was that we needed data, we needed hardware, we needed funding for phones and laptops, money to provide the service. But we found as we were intervening and providing this remote mental health intervention, poverty reared its nasty head. And we were forced to start a food relief humanitarian program because people were just not having access to food. So food insecurity became a major challenge for us. But over and above that, we've seen significant spikes in mental health and reduced income from corporates. So this virtual Kite Festival is not only about raising awareness, but also funding for us to continue to provide free mental health services to everyone who need it at this time. It's vital.
Maybe, that being said, Dylan, there is an opportunity here for strategic networking in a way that we haven't experienced before. We can connect with more people remotely, we can enhance our network, widen our web, if you will, but you do need that funding to come. You need the outreach. How have you guys been able to attract that funding? How have you guys been able to keep going and get that much needed infrastructure?
Definitely. I think we were fortunate enough to preempt the fact that, we were going into a national lockdown and, be proactive about how we were going about, implementing a remote service. And in that way, we've managed to overhaul essentially all our services that we provide into a remote services that we've rendered for the duration of the lockdown. And in this, it's in the form of obviously support as well as counseling, to mention a few. And we've seen, great numbers. We've seen about over 750,000 contacts alone in the form of WhatsApps, calls, video calls, emails, of our staff and our teams providing, the necessary care, whether it's counseling or whether it's, specific programs and projects that we've geared towards, specific people living with conditions. So in that way, we've managed to also roll out a structured day program as well to support people, making sure that they're stimulated and healthy.
It's amazing. Maybe in this way, we're breaking down some of those barriers that would prevent people from making contact with you guys. It's easy to send a WhatsApp and make that first contact and at least start that vital conversation. Speaking of the conversation, it's probably more important this year to have the awareness. Why do you need the platform now to be as big as it's ever been, do you think?
Yeah, it's very critical that we have this awareness campaign, mainly because mental health has become a priority for everyone. You know, the difference that COVID-19 pandemic has presented us with, it was before it was people out there with a mental health challenge and a condition. Now it's all of us.
No, it's me who's lost 4 months of income.
Well, absolutely. All of us have been affected in some degree or the other. And billions of people will have their mental health compromised during this very difficult time that people have faced. We have seen that COVID-19, what it has done, its negative symbiotic twin has actually been mental health. So we are calling for a health response that includes not only a response to the emergency around COVID-19 pandemic, but also mental health. And so this campaign for us is critical. As you know, World Mental Health Day, the theme is mental health for all, greater investment, greater access. It's a frightening situation that we have in South Africa, that 85 to 90% of people with a mental disorder have no access to mental health care.
Wow.
And so this virtual remote intervention, suddenly you remove all the borders, and hopefully we can upscale mental health and more people can have access to mental health care and support during these very challenging times.
So glad you used that trigger word, investment, in the title of the campaign this year. So a big way of getting the awareness out there. We would normally see hundreds, thousands of kites take to the sky in a beautiful display. This is going to happen in a different way. How are we adapting for the virtual space? What can we expect from the Kite Festival going virtual?
Definitely. So, you know, it's been an amazing journey for us to obviously put together this first ever edition of the International Kite Festival. And, you know, people can look forward to real life kite flying, and we've had, you know, participants from previous kite festivals, you know, from Germany, USA, Turkey.
We've hosted many of them on the show.
Definitely,
in years past.
right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we're happy that, you know, they could still form part of this year's event as well, and continue to fly, raising awareness for mental health. And people can also look forward to workshops that we've curated, as well as profiling some of the kiters. There's competitions, and to top it all off, we've got a virtual showcase this coming Saturday, and I think Jared's going to speak to it more a little later. So we've got a lot for people to engage with, and we encourage them to purchase their tickets and enjoy the fun.
As someone who's been involved, who's an amateur, I hope I'm not underselling you here, kite flyer yourself, what is it like to be a part of that day specifically and know that you're doing something that is on its surface kind of emancipating and freeing and wonderful to see, yes, but there is such a deep underpinning message?
Definitely. And it's an extremely powerful message at that. I think, you know, it adds more value to the work and effort that goes into it. It's extremely important for me as well, because it's been a really great way for me to kind of spend this unprecedented time to add value, to know that the work that I'm putting in is going to benefit or help support someone else who needs it.
And I can guarantee you, after the amount of time we've had for arts and crafts, the kites better look amazing.
Yes, I think they absolutely are just wonderful. The creations that these kiters have designed themselves, you have to caress your mental health when you look at these wonderful kites. And, you know, for us, the theme is, as you know, hope on the rise. And we really want to give a message of hope during these very difficult times. And, you know, the fantastic thing about flying a kite is you have to look up. And for that moment in time, all the worries and burdens are just
drifts away.
Just drifts away. And, you know, also with kites, as we know, kites soar against some of the most challenging winds. And we want to say to everyone, you know, despite the challenges that you face, we are just a phone call away, and you don't have to go through this on your own. Everyone's experiencing mental health issues at this particular point in time.
Well, we're going to have those details very proudly displayed on all of our social media platforms. And you can start with capementalhealth.co.za to find out more information. You heard the name Jared. He is one of my favorite human beings. Jared Ricketts is going to be proudly performing an amazing song in just a moment to add his voice to the many that are proudly proclaiming that you can fly that kite in the stormiest of winds. We can all do it, and just hopefully the right people will see these kites, see that message, and invest. But we will see you for that inspiration right now.